PlayStation has no games. And in this video, I'm going to show you that PlayStation has no games. Every time I criticize PlayStation on Twitter, all I see in my mentions is Ellie, Joel, and Kratos avatars coming to the rescue telling me, oh, but Starfield. It's like, did you see me bring up Starfield? Why are you making this an Xbox thing? I don't own an Xbox. Xbox is buns. That's well established. That's well documented. So can we go back to talking about my preferred platform of choice and how it can be improved and stop deflecting for once? Oh yeah, it's been bad for PlayStation. Non-stop. Every Monday I'm waking up to bad PlayStation news. Games getting cancelled. We're being kept in the dark about what's to come. A live service push they clearly aren't equipped to handle. PSVR 2 being a waste of resources they aren't even supporting. Mismanagement of Sony Bend, Naughty Dog, Media Molecule. The first party games are starting to get generic and formulaic. And there's a whole video that can be made about how PlayStation is falling off. But let's focus on the elephant in the room. PlayStation has no games. They don't. I remember last generation, the narrative towards Xbox was they had no games. And now PlayStation has no games and I'm bringing it up. They're telling me, go outside. Huh? That's a good one. The Xbox guys, they could have used that last generation. They could have used that excuse last generation. Whenever I bring up PlayStation having no games, the typical responses I get are, damn, is all you care about is first party? Third party games don't mean nothing to you? Or, what games does Xbox have? And my least favorite response is actually this one. This picture here. Don't get me tight. By the way, if you don't know, it may be a bit unfamiliar, you don't keep up in the loop too much. This isn't a list of PlayStation games. It isn't. There are 24 games here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm watching videos. I'm watching podcasts. This is my primary hobby. I don't know what some of the games on this list are, but there are 24 games on this list in this picture. Do you know how many of them are PlayStation games? 4 of them. 4 of these are PlayStation games. And do you wanna know which 4? So we have The Last of Us Part 2. That's off to a good start. A port for a game that came out 3 years ago. Great game. Favorite game of all time, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but I played this 3 years ago. You're giving me unfinished levels. Okay, a little $10 upgrade. What's next on the list? We have Wolverine. That got leaked for 2026. We'll talk about Wolverine in a second and how it looks a bit generic. And then there's 2 more games on here. Concord, a live service game we've only seen a sandwich for, CGI trailer. And Fair Games, another game we've only seen a CGI trailer for. None of which were impressive. Now you may say, okay, but there's still 24 games here. How can you say PlayStation has no games when there's 24 games here? First of all, you pad in stats. You have Foam Stars on here, but let's pretend like Foam Stars is a banger. It isn't. We played the beta. It sucked. But let's pretend it's a banger. And so are all the other games. All the other games here are great. It doesn't defeat the argument. There's no PlayStation games. These are second party games. People may say, well, what's the difference? You're playing semantics. A game's a game. It's not on Xbox. I don't know why we keep bringing back to Xbox. It not being on Xbox doesn't mean anything. But second party games aren't reliable. And if you want to bring up Xbox, let's take a look back at Xbox. You saw what happened when they relied on second party exclusives during the 360 generation. They ended up with no games in the next generation. They were cooked. They had no studios, no first party to support them. And look at Epic Games. Epic Games went from making Gears of War to making Fortnite, the most successful game of all time. That was an Xbox studio, right? According to PlayStation guys, as long as you're working with them and you own the IP, that's all you. It's not. And let's keep it on PlayStation like I've been saying this whole video. And let's look into PlayStation's history. You're never getting an Order 1886 sequel. I like that game. I think that game's great. You're never getting a sequel to that game. You know why? Facebook bought the developers. It doesn't seem like you're getting a Bloodborne remake or a sequel anytime soon. You guys been begging for that one. Doesn't seem like you're getting that anytime soon either. You know why? They shut down the support studio that made it, PlayStation Japan. FromSoft is having an incredible success with Elden Ring. They've got no reason to go back to Bloodborne. It only sold like 2-3 million copies. Now yes, PlayStation owns the IP. They could give it to Bluepoint like everyone else. I think they should give it to the Lies of P developers if possible. But we still don't know if From Software has any say in it. They might say, no, you can't do that. You're an IP, but in our contract it says you can't do that. We don't know. And there's so many different examples of second party games not being able to be secure. Look at Sunset Overdrive. I mean, Sunset Overdrive, apparently it leaked. They only made like $500 from it, literally. So that's kind of crazy. But you'll never get a sequel to that. You know why? Because it's an Xbox game. I mean, it's a place they own the IP, so it's a bit different. They could technically make a Sunset Overdrive too. But if Xbox wanted to make it, they can't make it anymore. You know why? They don't own the developer anymore. They don't have access to the developer anymore. They've been purchased by PlayStation. And there's so many examples of this throughout and across the industry. So when PlayStation has no games, I'm talking about PlayStation developers. But okay, PlayStation does have studios. They have 16, 17 studios or so, right? Maybe a bit more now. They've purchased Bungie, who is flopping and they purchase Fire Sprite and all these other developers that are unproven. But what about the PlayStation games we know about? We know about 10 live service games. We know those aren't going well from different reports, from different sources. We know Naughty Dog's online just got cancelled for The Last of Us. Whole lot of wasted time. We could be 3 years deep into the development of The Last of Us 3 or a new IP by now. That'd be nice, right? A Naughty Dog game in a year or two? That would have been great. Maybe 3 years, but now it's a lot farther away. We know about Wolverine. That's fall of 2026. That's a way away. And then people say, well, Naughty Dog and Insomniac aren't the only developers they have. And they start listing off imaginary games we know nothing about that they just assume is in development. Some of the titles they tell me are outrageous, but sometimes they make a bit more sense. Ghost of Tsushima 2 makes sense. That's probably in development, right? Maybe we get an announcement next year, comes out in 2 years, maybe even 2025, but 2025 is the closest we're going to get that game, right? I think that's pretty safe to assume. So 2024 is looking completely empty. Don't tell me about Helldivers. You guys didn't care about the first one. They had to go make it a third person PlayStation template, and it's still not a PlayStation game. But let's say even if they had bangers back to back, here they come, they've got the lineup, they've caught up, everything's good to go. There's another problem we face. All the PlayStation games feel the same now. Now, this was a narrative last generation that the Xbox guys created, the PlayStation template. Last generation, I did not agree with it. The Last of Us is great. It's my favorite game of all time. Why wouldn't I want more games like The Last of Us? That's just natural thinking. Of course, give me more. How wrong was I? The Last of Us 1 and 2 for me are in my top 5 games of all time. But now everything is starting to feel the same. It's starting to feel generic. There's no innovation. These studios are trying to be like Naughty Dog, but they aren't as good as Naughty Dog. Everything is super tight, close camera with dual protagonists, these slow walking sections with set pieces sprinkled in that you don't really have any control over. And now I don't want non-stop action. I like a good set piece. I like narrative. I like story. So what's the problem? They all feel the exact same. They all go about it in the exact same way. And I thought maybe I'm going insane. Maybe I'm wrong, right? I played Alan Wake 2 recently and said, see, this is how it's done. It's everything I just described. Third person, dual protagonist, definitely a lot of slow walking sections. And it was my game of the year. But it didn't feel like they were trying to copy Naughty Dog in the way that they went about it. It felt fresh. It felt brand new. And I was blown away because on paper, this is PlayStation template, but it felt nothing like PlayStation. And that's the problem. The Wolverine gameplay leaked and it looks like God of War, Uncharted. Oh, 2 critically acclaimed games that like 9s on Metacritic. What's the problem? First of all, God of War Ragnarok was boring. It didn't deserve that score. And Uncharted 4 isn't the best in the franchise. But let's say they were. Perfect games, amazing, 10 out of 10 games, right? We have God of War, we have Uncharted, and you're gonna get another Uncharted game very soon, by the way. They've been mismanaging Sony Ben with that game, and now it's been passed along, so I'm sure something like that is coming soon as well. But where's the creativity? Give me something different. Look at Zelda. People got tired of Zelda, and so they got in the studio, they got in the lab, and they came up with something new. And now look at Zelda, back on top, selling more than ever. So don't tell me, oh, what did you want Wolverine to look like and play like? An FPS? Shut up, idiot. I saw some people say, wow, you're really judging alpha gameplay? How slow are you? Yes, I'm judging alpha gameplay. Let's not do that. You can absolutely judge alpha footage. I'm not talking about the visuals. I'm not saying it won't be improved at all in any way in terms of gameplay. I'm saying I see the vision. They clearly have a direction for the game, and I'm speaking on the game direction, the vision they have. They have him being dragged by a boat like Nathan Drake being dragged by the car. It's like, it's got no textures, but I can see the vision. So no, I don't want my Wolverine game not developed by Sony Santa Monica, but instead being developed by Insomniac to feel the same way. I want a unique and different spin, but it doesn't look like we're getting that. And we haven't been getting that with the past few PlayStation exclusives. So PlayStation has no games. A game comes out and it feels like the last game. And whether the last game was critically acclaimed or not, I think some of them recently don't deserve it. But even still, why can't we have original critically acclaimed things? Everything has to be so samey. Everything has to be a copy and paste. You can't make anything original. And that's where I'm at with PlayStation. I'm like, you have no games. When the games come, they're about to feel the same as the last one did. Apart from Naughty Dog, I have full faith in Naughty Dog. I'm not concerned about Naughty Dog. I think The Last of Us Online would have been great. I tweeted that it was one of the most original things they were probably working on, and someone responded, really, a battle royale battle pass game? I was like, come on, man, you know what I'm talking about. But it's just not. No, Naughty Dog is the only one I have faith in because they're the one setting the trend. I'd be really impressed if they could do it again. The Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2 play completely different. There's such a drastic improvement, so much so I'm not sure if they can do it again with a third game, but If I had faith in anyone, it would be them. Because they're the one the other 15 studios are copying from. It's a whole bunch of cheating on the test and just changing the answer slightly on the test. That's what's going on at PlayStation right now. And I'm tired of it. And the output isn't enough for them to be doing this either.